This is the up and coming atheist chick. She comes from Mormonism. She has a very popular channel out of nowhere. These people really, the atheist community, whatever that is, they really rise quickly in success. You know, they go through the meat grinder, kind of like Hollywood too, at the same time. So they'll become very successful and chewed up. And then the next one comes along. It's like Disney. But this is the newest, one of the newer ones.
Everything when I lost God.
Wow, that's really dark.
It's very dark. With the death of God was also the death of truth and the death of morality.
That's true.
The death of community, the death of my marriage, the death of identity. Every day I was like a video game character that had no meaning and purpose, and it's all stupid.
What were your handholds to take you out of that?
There's something in my body screaming, this is meaningful. You're missing something. There's something meaningful here. But the shift that I made was, what if... I'm having a little emotions.
We welcome that here.
I know.
We welcome that here. Welcome. Feel it. Pull through it. Feel it. Unpack it. Process it. Restore it. We worship feelings here.
Oh, you do. I know you do.
Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it here. An atheist having emotion.
An atheist has feelings.
I know. I feel like Grok will become a creationist in a couple of years.
Not just like a
Never
cold,
seen it before in the
heart.
history of YouTube. Hey there, it's me, Rainn Wilson, and I want to dig into the human experience. I want to have conversations about a spiritual revolution. Let's get deep.
Spiritual revolution. Oi, oi, oi.
With our favorite thinkers, friends, and entertainers.
What was it Sarah from Rose said? Without Christianity, the world is just cycling revolutions, basically. It's paraphrased, but...
About life, meaning, and idiocy. Welcome to the Soul Boom Podcast.
More like Soul Coom.
Well, thank you for coming on the show, Britt. And it's a fun history of how you got here, because I wrote the book Soul Boom.
I can't take him seriously. That's why I'm wondering if he's also an artistic master and this is all parody. I'm just waiting for the person to reveal that the thing that we thought was so cringe was parody, and the levels of creativity and genius just needed to be shown to us over time, but I don't think it's happened.
So 2 years ago now, and you are quite active on TikTok and have a big following. And I know Kartik, my producer, showed me like videos like, oh, look, here's this spiritual influencer atheist who really dug your book and wants to have a conversation with you. And there was like a video or something like that. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Yeah.
I got my hair did for you, Rainn. I got my hair blown out and did for you, Rainn. I got this bob cut for you.
Let's check that out. And then I had Rhett and Link on the show, who deconstructed, I don't quite understand that word, but deconstructed their Christian faith. And Rhett was very much talking about your book, No Nonsense Spirituality, which is really thought-provoking and just terrifically written. Like I said, like it's hard to write about spirituality and have enough meat on the bones.
Yeah, well, that's a very, very kind way of saying when you talk about spirituality and there's no grounding for anything, the terms good, mind, energy, whatever it is, he's right. There's no skin on there's no bones. Well, there's no bones, right? That's what he really should say. When people talk about spirituality, especially on this show, this Rainn Wilson show, they're talking about a lot of meat, but there's no bones. It's the opposite. He thinks there's no meat. No, there's no bone. You guys have no bones.
So that maybe someone who's getting a degree in comparative religions or something like that can dig into it, but accessible for the common person and relatable. Mm-hmm. And you do all that with humor and great style. And,
thank you.
And he was talking about how seminal this book was in his kind of reconsideration of his Christian upbringing. And so we're like, well, the universe wants you here. I know you wouldn't say it that way, but
I wouldn't quite, but I'm a huge fan of Rhett. And we actually, like, our timelines, we deconstructed around the same time, which is interesting because if him and I would have met 20 years ago.
No one cares.
I would have had a cheat sheet for how to make him a Mormon, and he wrote a whole book on how to convince Mormons that they're not Christians. So our conversation 20 years ago would have been very different than the conversations that him and I are having now.
Right.
When you erase God, all that is left is revolution, chaos, and false saviors. Thank you for that, Snagglebees. Thanks for the tip. Into the Nashville fund so I can eat a hamburger.
And just so we can
pay for my hamburgers, pay for my beer, pay for me to take my wife out in Nashville this year. Pay for me to yell at Planet Peterson.
all get on the same page. When you use the word deconstruction, what
I'm getting better at grifting, by the way. I feel like you just reach a point where, you just have to tell you guys what I need. Okay?
do you mean by that?
Deconstructing truth claims and dogmas.
I'm done. Turn it off.
That come with a religion is.
Oh, really? You never heard of the dogmas of empiricism? You think you don't have a dogma, lady? You're so retarded. It's actually not true. Everybody has dogmas. You have a dogma. I have a dogma.
That's really what I mean by that.
But usually deconstruction, as I've come to understand it, because I had never heard the phrase before I met Rhett and Link, just has to do with ultimately a rejection of the claims of the religion that one was brought up in. One of the things I was kind of like dancing with Rhett and Link a little bit. That
Shut up.
part of a deconstruction process, and I'm not quite sure it is.
I think it is, and Brian McLaren, who's on your shelf here and who's been a guest on the podcast, talks about that quite a bit. That deconstruction can lead to deepening of faith, where you let go of certain truth claims, but then you're able to nuance things or see things in a new way. I think all of that can be part of a deconstruction process. But what's happening is when it combines with postmodernism, deconstruction becomes you're deconstructing claims about a religion, so truth claims, historical truth claims, but then you're also deconstructing concepts of God. Maybe you're deconstructing certain narratives of society, gender roles, things like that. Then you're deconstructing free will. Then you're deconstructing the illusion of the self. And so once that train starts going for people, it tends to keep going. It does.
I'm actually kind of surprised she said this because she's actually correct in a sense, because once you move away from God, even a broken view of God, like a Mormon view, you can't do that without it impacting your epistemology. You can't do that without it impacting your philosophy of mind, your metaphysics, your moral positions. It is a worldview, and this is why when atheists say it's not a worldview, atheism isn't a worldview, it is a worldview. It cannot be separated or cut from your epistemic system. It's a function of your epistemic system, which is part of your worldview. It's a perfect haircut for an atheist woman. It is.
Doesn't usually stop at just.
It's like she went into Floyd's and she was like, "What do you want?" She's like, "Atheist."
A few.
They're like, "Is it lesbian?" She's like, "Almost." It's not exactly, but close.
Historical truth claims about the nature of Jesus, or something.
That's interesting because I guess you could say I deconstructed my Baha'i upbringing.
I think so. Yeah.
Starting in around 1990 or so.
Oh, tell your story. Everybody tell their story. I'm the new counter ministry of my testimony, my anti-testimony testimony. I did a whole stream on this, how when people leave or deconstruct, right, their entire identity becomes a mirror of what they came from. So they go on testimonial tours. They go on counter ministry tours. They become a type of apostle for their religious belief. There's a church. There's a weird weird counter apologetic church that they become a part of. It's all the same stuff.
But it's interesting because for me, that process stopped at a certain point, So at first it was kind of like, I'm not just going to accept the truth of my parents and the truth of the community.
This section's called Meaning After Faith Collapse.
I couldn't wrap my head, heart, mind, soul around a world that didn't have some kind of primal force or source behind.
I want to ask you about that because when I watched, when I read Soul Boom and I loved it because I feel like the first half, you just like so perfectly defined like the spiritual crisis that we're in and the meaning crisis. And I was just like eating it up. And then I felt like you went somewhere where I couldn't go. And the question that I've wanted to ask you since then is that if your atheist phase, and then like we can go wherever you want for the rest of the interview. This is really my only question that I've had for you is if your atheist phase had a more spiritual root in it. So like my atheist.
What the F does that mean, dummy? If your atheist phase had a religious root to it, how would it be different? How would your hamburger taste if it was a pizza? If that solo that was done by a violin was done by a pair, how would it have changed your processes? The atheist spiritualisms. What's the atheist spiritualism?
Atheism has...
Oh, you're so deep with your new haircut, lady. Why are you dressed like Hillary Clinton? You get this one chance to get on a big show, and you're like, make me look like Hillary Clinton? What are you doing, lady? You should be in like a sweatshirt, something comfy, and like you kind of look like the cozy lady who has a lot of tea. You look like you're about to go to the UN.
A Sufi
spiritual atheist spiritualism
teacher that I meet with regularly. It has mysticism and it has psychedelics and it has meaningful work and it has purpose and it has service and it has contemplation and it
has all the things you can't justify it having. You just grant them that you have those things. Amazing. What if it had all the things that it rejects? What would atheism be like if it has all the things that it can't justify? Wouldn't that be amazing? So I'm wondering, Dwight, is that your name, Dwight? I'm wondering how would your atheist phase be if you had borrowed everything from a Christian paradigm and sort of smuggled it into your atheism. So I guess what I'm asking is, how would your stage of atheism go if it was less atheistic? It's a good question. I'm so glad we're processing here. Dan Town, $2,500. Thank you so much. He just sends it out like it's nothing. More like, how would your hamburger taste without the bun, lettuce, tomato, beef, cheese, and how would your empty hamburger taste? Nick, Woodshop, what's going on, buddy? Nice to see you here. $10. Bears, Beats, Blasphemy. Hope you're doing well. Nice to see you, dude. Hope you're doing good.
It really has all of the aspects of religion that I have cultivated into my life. And so it's a thriving form of spiritual atheism.
Spiritual atheism. I'm sorry. So hold on a second. Hey, lady. Hey, Hillary Clinton impersonator. Could I be an atheist but adopt all of the Christian spiritual beliefs? I'm just wondering. This is where we're at this is where atheism's at. This is hilarious. Spiritual atheism. They've come full cycle. It's like a full cycle.
I feel like if your atheism had more spirituality to it, that
I feel like your atheism, if you just added a little more God to your atheism, I feel like that would really elevate your atheism.
phase like, because when you talk about your atheism, it's an emptiness, and for me, it's not an emptiness. It's very much a wholeness.
Really?
And so I wonder if your atheist phase had spirituality in it.
Is this parody? See, I'm lost. I don't know what's parody anymore.
Would it have been so empty for you?
Well, I think that's an excellent question. And I think even
when I just really wonder if, like, people who go through their atheist phase, instead of being consistent with their atheist and adopting a view or the entailment of the view that meaning is totally arbitrary, but nothing's ultimately has any purpose, our existing has no purpose, there's nothing moral or immoral about anything. In fact, there's nothing true about anything. I feel like if you go through that phase and instead of, being a consistent atheist and accepting all of the entailments, I wonder what it would be like to reject part of it and adopt maybe a spiritual view from another thing that you reject. I wonder what that would be like. That's like saying to a Christian, like, I wonder what Christianity would look like if you adopted every satanic action and act against yourself and others. I wonder how Christianity would be. Well, you're looking at it in the West. You're looking at it. It's like, what is spiritual? Is burning babies alive spiritual, lady? Hey, Dwight, I got a question for you. Can you tell me that something's not spiritual? Anything? Hey, Nitty, what's going on, Nitty? I haven't seen you in a bit. Guess what? Done making atheist content, finding YouTube unfulfilling and ineffective for the debate. That kind of makes sense, Nitty. I mean, if I was an atheist, I would stop making atheist content too, because ultimately it's performative contradiction.
Even in the early 90s, one would have been hard pressed to find a single spiritual atheist.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
On the planet. Mm-hmm. So
this is a fantastic question. I always ask a version of this question as Patristic Faith here. If you're not following him, go follow. Why do these people think spirituality is something good and desirable? Well, yeah, I ask them the similar question, and I ask every atheist this who comes to the table to debate the truthfulness of Christianity or anything else. Why should we pursue even true things? Why pursue truth at all? Ultimately, the answer to this question from the atheist worldview without God is pragmatism. Okay, well, so if pragmatism is the reason you should pursue true beliefs, why should we pursue any sort of goal as opposed to another goal? Like, for instance, I could find out the truth of the matter about how brain custard tastes. I could want that as a goal. And I could take a pragmatic approach to the truth, meaning a descriptive, like, best describe reality will get me closer to brain custard. Right? If I develop a critical path to brain custard, like Jeffrey Dahmer did, that's a totally reasonable pursuit from this pragmatic view. There's no value judgment on the eating of brain custards. That would go beyond truth being merely descriptions of reality like Matt Dillahunty thinks it is. It would go further beyond that. But they don't go further.
I didn't have those kind of resources. And one of the things that there's so much I despise about contemporary society and social media and how everything is working and falling apart. And it's this madcap, roller coaster of, short attention span fever. But there's a lot of resources out there for young people. And I know that young folk.
Marilyn, do I need to raise money to ban you? You're losing it. You don't listen to anything anybody says. You don't listen to anybody. Isn't it $50 a day? Yeah, I mean, I'm ready for...
Episode 5 at the 55-minute mark. Tony's Glazer Demon. When you almost lost your mind in the Tucker skit and the online demon debate. Individual video.
Thank you. That will be... All of these greatest moments of Ortho Thugs will be presented on Thursday. Or Friday, the show. 5 p.m. Marilyn, yeah, if anyone wants to pay for Marilyn, look, paying for Marilyn to disappear for several days helps not only the chat, but helps me make it to Nashville. So think about it that way. You could also use a Bob chat for it. So if someone wants to ban Marilyn, I believe it's $50 a day. You can take that to whatever extent you want. You know what I mean? You could set, I mean, if you're feeling aggressive today, you can hit a pretty high mark to ban Maryland.
Have found you and your channels online and your book to be incredibly revitalizing. And this idea that, hey, you can have spiritual practices, rituals, depth, meaning without
$1 for Maryland. No, dollar, not a dollar. No, it's got to be higher than that.
a God, without a soul, without
It starts at $50 an hour.
any kind of greater spirit beyond kind of the material. And I think that, I don't
A permanent ban, $1,000.
know. For me at 20
Bob chat only though. Only a Bob chat for $1,000. Permanent ban.
or 21, maybe that would have. Maybe that would have worked for me. I think for me, as you know,
$1,000 Bob chat, Maryland's gone for forever.
because you read the book, and thank you for reading it. The essential question then, as it wasn't sitting right,
Yeah.
was like, well, is there a God? And that was kind of a very long journey about trying to figure out if there was a God, and how does one figure that out? I mean, you can get PhDs and you can intellectualize all you want, but
That's crazy forever. I know it's crazy. If someone did that, that would be pretty crazy, Marilyn. I'm actually trying to help you, Marilyn. That's such an astounding number that you'd really have to want you banned for that. You know what I mean?
but I heard you say in an interview,
But the good news is this, Marilyn. You're here for a variety of reasons, maybe some entertainment, some community, but like if you watch me and you never convert to orthodoxy, I failed anyway. You know what I mean? Like you just shouldn't even be watching. If the end is that you never convert, I've failed. I failed.
I heard you talk about love as
So maybe being here isn't the best thing for you.
an experience of love. And of course, David Bentley Hart has the book, The Experience of God. And like, how do you experience God? Do you experience the divine? And how exactly does that work? And that's when I talked about this idea of Wakantanka from...
Oh my gosh, would you stop rambling and let this lady give her terrible worldview? It's supposed to be building morality without religion. I'm still waiting for them to get
the
this.
Lakota Sioux tradition and how revelatory that was to think about God completely devoid from any kind of persona or human qualities, and being far more contained in kind of the miracle and mystery of nature than in any kind of like superhero or demiurge or anything.
What are you talking about, dummy? Have you looked at nature lately? You ever look at nature, bro? Oh yeah, God is much more of God, and the idea of love and humility and patience is found in the Serengeti. It's found in Chicago. It's found, deep in the wilderness. The love of a gorilla smashing its baby on the rock. Just the beauty of it. It's just found in nature. I love nature. Yeah, right, dude. You're an elite Hollywood whore, Dwight. You rent nature. You temporarily dip your toes and you go back to your air conditioner. I mean, come on, stop it. Nature. Go to nature then. Go do me a favor, Dwight. Go to Australia when the water's really warm. Okay? Go ahead there. Go on and experience God.
Anything like that. So that, for me, that was the turning point where I was like, okay, I can get with
Do you even nature, bro?
that. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where at that age I built my foundation, and it still, for me, holds up.
And that's a place where you and I will combine, even though we'll probably differ in.
Dwight's worldview is akin to the stomp clap hey songs. Yeah. It's all just, it's like they're bumper sticker printers. Like their mouth opens all wide and then the paper comes out and it's like, oh, cool. Endless bumper sticker.
Maybe some of the words that we'll use, like you'll be much more liberal with your use of the word God than I will. But for me, even as an atheist, if someone walks into a cathedral and there's stained glass and there's music playing, it's beautiful, and someone says, I feel God here, that's an experience. They're using a mouth sound God to describe what they're feeling. And even to this day, if someone were to say that, I would say, I feel God here too. Because now we're just using a word to share an experience, a shared experience that we're having.
That's great, yeah. And so the Baal worshippers, or I don't know, the people deep in the political sphere who literally eat baby children after they drain their blood, lady, that's just experiencing God according to your standard.
But then when someone says God says this or is this or does this or whatever, okay, that's different. That's a truth claim that we're making, about God.
No, I experience God is also a truth claim you're making about God. I don't know what you're saying, Hillary. Why? Who convinced you to wear the blue blazer? You look like, you really do look like every female comedian on Netflix right now.
In the nature of the universe, and that's where I'm going to be much more skeptical or wary of using that word. But that word of I feel God here, I have no problem as an atheist.
Why? I don't understand. What's the symmetry breaker here? Not that Dwight here is going to ask the question, but listen to what she's saying. I'm totally fine with you having an experience and saying that it's God. I know what you're referring to. Well, no. If you're an atheist, you should reject that and you say, what are you referring to, God? I don't understand. So if I just shot up heroin in my eyeball and I felt something, I can call that God, and that's a reasonable epistemic claim for you, lady?
Saying that.
She's like, I admit that my consistency of my epistemic criteria is not lacking.
Because that's an experience that
she loves feelings, yeah.
Is permeated in my life.
I think that's a quote from The Office.
Yeah, that's the only thing that makes you relevant. So I would keep making Office references.
I feel God in this Chili's tonight.
That's right. That's right.
So Pam was right.
Maybe Pam was right all along.
She felt God in the chili.
Pam the theologian was onto something.
I think so. There's someone could write a book on the spirituality of The Office. Get on that, folks.
You wish, loser.
It's not going to be me. I'm too busy. There's so many ways that.
He kind of self-reported that. I have a feeling you're not too busy.
We align.
Given that you're talking to atheist TikTokers.
And our points of view. And I got so much out of your book. And there's so many incredible points that you made. There's lots.
Name one.
Of ways where we don't align and agree to disagree. And the last thing I want to do in this conversation is kind of get into the old proof of God debate kind of stuff, which is really boring and has never changed a single mind.
Never convinces anyone.
Yeah. So everyone who watches those videos that doesn't believe in God is like, yeah, they
broken in some fundamental way.
That's really hard.
It was really difficult.
Acceptance and
yeah. And all of this, like I can talk about it now. Like these wounds are so healed for me. My relationship with my parents now is fantastic. So these wounds are all healed for me now. But at the time it was very painful. And so what I wanted to figure out at 16, and this is like such a big thought for a 16-year-old, like only 16-year-olds can be this like audacious. Like if I can just figure out what the hell is going on with reality, like what religion is right and what God is right, I'll be able to like fix my life so that I won't end up in this like kind of fucked up situation that I ended up in.
That's another thing we really have in common too, because when I went through my dark years of the soul, especially in my 20s,
change, and it just became this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you telling a story about your 20s, Dwight? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. No one cares.
This idea, it's this seed of doubt that happened in theology school that maybe we're the ones creating God, because every time we change our God. And
no. So if you use that same reasoning and you said truth itself is made up by humans, you're done, you're toast.
So not only were we studying that in society and specifically in Christianity, as Christianity and Judaism goes through changes of God, but then you also study it on the individual level.
Liar!
People who
lies. Sorry, did I say that out loud? Oh, my bad.
Who have autism will have
like
either
you?
tend towards fundamentalism or
Yeah, Evan Lord.
tend towards atheism. People who are high in empathy have a certain kind of God. People who are high in disgust, like moral disgust, will have a certain kind of God. And so now I'm to the point, even in theology school, where tell me about a person and I'll tell you their God, or tell me your God and I'll tell you who you are. And I got so good at that it started to break down the concept of God as being something more than just a projection of what humans are doing.
It reminds me of the
Go ahead and prove it then, lady.
Gottmans, who are seminal therapists that are...
No one cares when you talk, Dwight. You add nothing to the podcast. You thought it would be good to do it because someone liked The Office, but it's clear as day. We don't care what you have to say. You could as well be a picture on the wainscoting behind you.
Study marriage and relationships, and they can sit down with a couple, ask them like 10 questions, and know.
Because we like to think that we like freedom, but actually our brains really don't. And so fear of freedom is this fear that we have that you are in charge of your own life and that you can F it up or make it great. And that responsibility is actually quite terrifying to us existentially. We like to think that that it's all the leaders' fault and politicians' fault and cult leaders' fault and religious leaders' fault. But if every leader in every organization died today, we would recreate them tomorrow because we want someone. It's confusing. It's hard to be a human. Humaning is hard. And so when someone who looks
Such a female thing to say.
looks really competent says, I have a 12-step program for your life. I have 6 rules to live by that will lead you to be happy and healthy and all the things. We're like, thank God. And we give people...
We want structure. We want a container. Is that necessary?
Well, we're sheep. And that's a Christian distinction. That the fact that we're sheep is supportive of a Christian philosophical lens, not an atheistic one. There's nothing atheism can tell you. They'll try to go to evolutionary psychology and all these things, but the problem with that, like if I said, tell me as an atheist, from an atheist view, without a God, tell me why is it we're drawn to be sheep? And they go, well, you want to belong, and then a belong is for survival. Okay, well, there's a lot of things for survival. You can say that that pursuing a religious belief is for survival. So from their worldview, everything's just like sort of matter in motion and events unfolding. And they really don't have a distinction between someone being a sheep because they want a leader or someone, joining a church or joining a terrible cult. They're both seeking this natural thing called like following or wanting a leader. But they can't tell me from an atheist view why that's true. Why is it true that humans do this? They could only say, well, we evolved to. Yeah, well, we evolved to eat brain custard too then. We evolved to do everything. So if that's the case. Why do we do anything? Well, because we evolved to. Why do I believe in God? Well, you evolved to. Okay, so why are you confused then?
Necessarily such a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, but we have to be aware of it, because if you're afraid of freedom, then you're willingly giving away your moral compass to others who claim to know what's best for you, and that can create problems.
That's right. I mean, when Mao Zedong had all of his pushback from people, I'm so glad. He must have had her book on hand, because he was like, I want to do this. I want the Great Revolution. And then he got pushback and he said, dude, this isn't it. You're causing a disaster. I mean, people are dying. They're starving. It's horrific. You're creating a horror show. And he's all, didn't you read the woman book with short haircut? I want revolution. I want it now.
And is this
Don't, hey, Mao, don't outsource your morality to people. Don't appeal to someone else for what you should and shouldn't do. You do you, bro. It's your truth, Mao. Someone should animate Oprah Winfrey talking to a bunch of dead, brutal dictators. And be like, your truth. It's your truth. Oh, it's your truth.
it's part of
Everybody's going home with their own truth. Look under your chairs.
the problem of the modern world in the fact that there is no container. There are so many choices. Like, even when you pick up your phone, you can be like, I can watch a movie on Netflix. I can watch sports at school. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay, this section's called Atheist Spirituality versus Dogma. This should be good.
When this happened in your timeline, but I know you went through a really dark night of the soul in terms of nihilism and why should I even be alive, and how do I find my purpose if there isn't some kind of afterlife or heaven or what have you, if there's essentially an absurd randomness to the universe. That was like a year of your life struggling with that?
It was 2 years, and I can talk now about thriving in secular spirituality, but you're right, that's skipping a pretty big chapter where that move was not intuitive to me at first. At first, it was absolutely devastating. The death of God, which Nietzsche predicted, that, you know, why he said that in a tone of mourning, not rejoicing, was that with the death of God was also the death of truth and the death of morality, the death of community, the death of my marriage, the death of identity, the death of self and soul, the death of free will. I lost everything when I lost God. And for people who are raised secular, it tends to be not as traumatic. Like, people who were raised secular who come to me for spiritual direction, they kind of just have like maybe an ache or curiosity or a longing. But for people who go from religion, especially like a fundamental, like a high demand religion like Mormonism, to nihilism, it's just devastating to your brain.
Nihilism.
Nihilism, just the belief that there's no inherent meaning in the universe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You live, you die. There's no real purpose.
I was thinking about the nihilists from
No one cares. That was a nice one.
The Big Lebowski.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there's some good nihilist characters in movies over the years. But yeah, so for me, it just, my brain just shut down, and I was very depressed. And it wasn't a depression that like, oh, you just need some sunshine and some friends. Like, it was deeply suicidal. And for
yeah, so what's wrong with that? Atheist. Hey, atheist in the chat. What's wrong with suicide again? I forgot. I don't know. I think I never heard you say what it is. I need auto-tune. I do not. I was thinking about getting a plug-in though, because that would be kind of funny. Especially like just singing something out of nowhere, auto-tune.
For those who don't want to hear that part, this was where maybe you skip this episode, or because I'm just gonna be honest about that time in my life. I really so completely dissociated that I woke up and just
everything's such a freaking slow, drawn out therapy session. Stop crying. And then I did the thing, and I went through it, and now I'm on the other side, talking to Dwight from The Office. And then I felt it in I felt it in my bones. And then there was something in me just grasping at some truth in the me. And then I went to Tuscany, and I was so glad. I remember that trip to Tuscany. There was this one moment where I was sitting alone, and I, blah, 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 blah. Arrive at the point, Hillary.
Every day I was like a video game character that had no meaning and purpose, and it's all stupid.
And how does anything change? Your worldview is still that, lady.
But other people in this game care about this character. So I'll just kind of like pretend to be human and pretend to be Brittany because these people care about me. But all of this is stupid. All of this is meaningless. There's no point in this. It would be better to never have been born. I wanted to die. I had a...
So you were, what, a 15-year-old girl in your adulthood? Is that what you're saying? So you had 15-year-old girl thoughts about high school when you're 35. Great work.
A lot of suicidal ideation. I had children, and so that pulled me back from the worst of those thoughts. And really at the root of it, the deepest thought that I had that I couldn't get out of was, if there's no purpose and the universe doesn't know that we're here and everything suffers and we're just products of evolution and there's no free will, and to live, you know, other conscious life has to die in order for you to live, even when you're vegan, then I'm just a machine of violence, and it would actually be more moral to take my own life.
That's a contradiction, lady. If what you just said is true, then there would be anything moral or immoral about taking your life. How do you not understand this? I mean, it's so unfortunate she's talking to an actual Hollywood retard right now. Because he doesn't have the wherewithal or the logical acumen to go, no, but I'm sorry, Brittany, but I love your hair today, but that's a contradiction. You can't have everything you just said to be true and then to come to the conclusion that it would be more moral for you to end yourself. That would also be meaningless. So all of those thoughts to arrive at a performative contradiction? Wow, it's amazing, lady.
Than to be alive.
Wow, that's really dark.
Well, no, it's not dark if her worldview is true. It's not dark if atheism is true. It's not dark. Hello? Is this atheism story time?
It's very dark. And I was...
That's meaningless. It's very dark.
Stuck in that for about 2 years. And because my brain had just lost every kind of foundation, because when your foundation is built on God and you lose that, you lose more than just beliefs. I lost every... The reason nihilism...
Is that why you're so dead inside when you talk? Is that why you have no light to you? Is that the excuse? I don't get it. I mean, what's going on, lady? Come on, Jimbob. She made some of her own meaning, molded some meaning, Play-Doh, some meaning Play-Doh, into bricks, pave the path for her spiritual journey. That's right, Ian. She's God, too, maybe. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Can be so dangerous for people is because you have no psychological or social anchors left. You're just, people describe it as floating in the abyss, floating in the void. You can't even make a decision because you don't have a hierarchy of values.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, you can't make a decision even from your worldview now, lady, because it's all determined by neurology and neurochemical reactions. What do you didn't get out of, dude, lady, you didn't get out of anywhere. You wrote a book and now some famous people are talking about you. That's all that happened.
It's just all random and suffering and nothing and no point. And it's...
Simultaneously, she's giving a fairly decent counter-argument to atheism.
It's a very dark place that philosophers will describe as the void or the abyss.
It's not a dark place if it's true.
That is a place that your brain really doesn't want to go to, which is why it will cling to belief for so long.
But you've got out of it. What were your handholds to take you out of that?
Yeah.
Well, the handholds, let me guess. I'm going to predict this. Let me guess. The handholds is that she's going to still borrow from the worldview. She's going to take from the tool belt of Christianity and its universal categories and its transcendentals, and she's just going to grant it to herself without any justification. Snagglebee's $2. If there's no meaning, what the heck is suffering? Yeah, there's no suffering.
Yeah, the first handhold, the first shift that that I made was, and it's something that I'm.
Oh my gosh! Just say it.
That really saved my life, I think.
Oh man, here we go. Here we go. Eat, pray, love. Another trip to Tuscany.
And John Vervaeke talks about this. We just had a conversation. He's an expert on the meaning crisis.
Oh, she's expert in meaning crisis.
I would have found his work earlier, it would have been a lot more helpful, but there was...
What do you do? Well, I'm a metallurgist. Oh, that's cool. That's a good thing. What do you do, John? I'm an expert in the meaning crisis. See, it's right there on my card. Expert, meaning crisis. Have you ever seen one of me before? There's not many of us. Not many of us out here. I mean, we are as rare as some of the most prominent art restoration firms. Not many exist. We're right there, up there in the scarcity with them. So, come on down. Have you ever talked to a meaning crisis expert?
There's this shift when you're coming away from religion, that your brain is built on this default system that if you have a story, then you'll know how to pattern your life accordingly. And so even after religion, my brain was still looking for some grand narrative, overarching story. And I couldn't find one that I could really build on because skepticism would just blow everything up.
This is why they don't like presuppositionalism, because what she's doing is she's looking for a thing through some methodology, but what she fails to ask herself, and along with almost every atheist I've ever engaged with, what she fails to ask is, why am I searching for meaning? Why search for meaning? Like patristic faith said before. Why? You have to, your worldview needs to answer this question. Why are you even searching for meaning? She's like, I'm trying to, you know what? So I went on a tour to meaning. And I went to France and I went to Africa and I was just searching everywhere. I was looking under rocks, looking for the meaning. And you're like, hello, the question is, from your worldview, why look? Why look? Why are you looking?
And then you're just left with nothing, and a brain without a story just shuts down. It doesn't know what to do. And so the shift that I made was this concept of building sandcastles.
Unbelievable. Sandcastles on nothing. Castles made of sand fall in the sea eventually. The irony of her going, what I did is I started building castles made of sand, built on nothing, admittedly. And it's like, this is what's so fascinating about these creatures, is if it's the case that everything's meaningless, that's your real statement, but in order to combat meaningless, you might as well find a story that's meaningful, then you might as well just go back to Christianity, right, lady? She's admitting that she's crafting meaning and ultimately it's filling a void that needs to be filled. That means every other view that's doing that is doing the same thing. You might as well just pick the most prudent one. You might as well pick the most pragmatic one. You might as well pick the one that, even if you thought it was false, has some sort of holistic account for everything. You might as well be a Christian, lady. That makes no sense. But you're gonna build castles made of sand. Unbelievable.
That if you're just building a sandcastle to try to outlive the wave, it's never gonna work. There's nothing I can do in my life that will matter from that scale. 3 generations from now, no matter what I do, I'll be forgotten. And the last person who remembers me will die, and that'll be it. And so when I was trying to build meaning from that place, I couldn't find a handhold because The universe doesn't care that I'm here when you're in nihilism. But the shift that I made was, what if the point of sandcastles is not to build it to outlast the wave? What if the point of building sandcastles is the experience of building sandcastles the way that my children played when they built sandcastles? They weren't building it in order to make it last forever. They built it because they were experiencing something.
Yeah. So is Hitler, lady. He was just building a sandcastle, lady. It's just Stalin and Mao and Pol Pot and all the whatever from your view, the worst people in history. What if what they were doing is just building a sandcastle, their own little sandcastle, just like the children's did. Just like the children's did. Just a bloody sandcastle. Yeah.
Experiencing a form of play.
It's always this play thing, a sense of play. Yeah. There are people deep in the government who have a sense of play with children. You know that, lady? They're just playing in their sandcastle. It just happens to be in D.C. Accidental sandcastle.
And there was something with my son having
Lord have mercy.
a little emotions.
You have emotions? Wait a second. Hold on a second. We should stop the show.
Welcome that here.
I know you do. But this is...
Just so you know, according to your own worldview, your emotions are meaningless. I wish Dwight here would actually run counter as a joke, like a Sam Hyde style, like a Zach Galifianakis would be genius at this. He'd be like, oh, you have emotions? They're meaningless. Your emotions about your sons are meaningless. So don't worry. Have those emotions. They mean nothing. Your son, creature, object in space, biological mechanical device. Go on. No, I'll let you share it. I just want you to know it's meaningless, lady. Your son is a gadget. Alex Stein bursting into his knitting circle with an Epstein freak out would be, yeah, that's funny, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you saw it here. An atheist having emotions.
An atheist has feelings. I know. I'm not just like a
never
cold
seen it before
black
in
heart.
the history of YouTube. I'm teasing, and this is a beautiful story, and I really don't mean to undermine it. I love this idea of play, and you talk about play in your book, and creating for the sake of creating and emulating the child, and you have...
It's meaningless. Creating for the sake of creating. What? Okay. Toward what? Nothing. We're already there.
Some beautiful quotes about that, but
yeah,
please continue.
My son, my oldest son, he would just get off the bus and he would look for my face, and then when he saw my face, he would just light up,
That's just a chemical reaction, lady. I don't know why you're putting so much weight on it, lady. It's meaningless, lady. What are you doing? Why are you adding so much meaning?
And especially with my sons, the way that they love me as their mom.
That's also a chemical reaction. They don't actually love you from an atheist view. Sorry, lady. Sorry to burst your bubble, but I'm Dwight from The Office.
It's not a truth about the universe. It's an experience.
Alex says, the issue, he's not even smart enough to play devil's... Yeah, there's no pushback. This is a glaze fest. It's disgusting. This is disgusting. Can you imagine you had a workout coach and they were this guy? Like, you would never get anywhere. Your shoulders would still look like mine. That's good enough, Jimbob. You don't need to do. Just be with yourself. Be playful.
Experience of being loved in that way. And there was something there.
You weren't loved, lady. Your son had a chemical reaction that looked like something that you interpreted as love from your view. Why are you still doing this?
That changed me, that said, even if the universe doesn't care, the fact that my son was looking for my face and lit up when he saw me.
Whatever. It's meaningless.
There's something in my body screaming, this is meaningful. You're missing something.
Yeah, it's called being made in the image of God. It's called that you're picking up on something that's supernatural, that's not based in mechanics. It means that you yourself represent something that points to something to divine, something that's not in nature. You can't find love in nature. I'm sorry, lady. So here she goes, oh, how do you combat atheism and the loss of everything? Well, you just start adopting the some of the distinctions from a Christian perspective. You just adopt it back in. Oh, love. What's love? I'm sorry. Why are you talking about love, lady? Shouldn't you be naming the chemical? Shouldn't love be on the periodic table of elements? Yeah, I mean, if I'm consistent, yeah, but I'm trying to get out of the consistency of atheism by borrowing from Christianity. Can you let me do that?
There's something meaningful here.
You mean there's something grounded in there's something transcendental that needs a grounding that's also relational? Oh, interesting. I call that the God. I happen to call it the triune Godhead.
And of course, like, this seems so obvious to everyone else that there is experiential ways of knowing.
Adam owns Jimbob. You're just not picking up what she's putting down. Yeah, she's putting down herself.
It wasn't obvious to me because in religion and in theology, you have truth that's first, ultimate truth, grand narrative truth, and then you build your life on that. Mm-hmm. And this was a shift for me, which is, what if you build your life on the experience of what sandcastles are worth building just for the play of it, just for the experience of it?
What a dumb Hollywood dweeb. Oh, man. So let me translate this. Instead of holding a view that truth is absolute and grounded in God, and that all epistemology is theonomous and revealed to you, and you're to discover it with the faculties that God gave you so that you know him, what if we just build on sandcastles before the wave comes? What if nothing's true, but have fun? What if this is moving? This is just we're breaching new territory here. What if everything we do and say is totally made up and subjective, meaningless, but we just do it anyway? And that's my book. That's the book I wrote.
And it was this shift of, even if the universe doesn't care about this child, I care. And that was a different ground to stand on that could withstand nihilism. Because now I don't have to believe anything. I don't have to do any magical thinking about gods and the universe and manifesting and...
No, you actually do, lady. You have to assume something supernatural exists that's outside of your epistemic criteria called love. Jules, where do they find these people? This goes to show, by the way, Dwight here, Rainn Wilson, popularized comedically for being on a show that honestly was not too good. It's not too good, Jules. I know you like it. It just shows that, where do these people get off? Where do they get the notion that they want to be heard on any other topic other than being the stupid Dwight character in The Office? Jules, can you tell me? This is a typical Starbucks intro. It really is. It's like Matthew, that just nails it. It's like two women who have too much time on their hand meet at Starbucks and they have, oh, I'm so glad we had that conversation at Starbucks. I gotta get home now. What is love? Baby, don't chemical me. Don't chemical react to me no more.
All these things that just the skeptical side of my brain is like, We have better explanations for this, human explanations for this, naturalistic explanations for this.
Oh, really? What's a natural explanation for the thing you're calling love, chemical lady?
I don't have to turn off that part of my brain, but there is ground that you can stand on from the point of view of experience. And so the question that changed my life.
Another contradiction. Experience itself can't be explained by naturalism. Experience itself, experience in time, can't be explained by naturalism.
Was, what are sandcastles for this meat?
Was that a Red Bar impression? It was.
Suit that I'm experiencing in the
Joe Rogan's alien cult
universe. What are the sandcastles that this meat suit enjoys building?
Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. Epstein Island is a sandcastle that a meat suit liked building, lady. Okay? You're going to call your kid a meat suit? You're despicable. You're a despicable creature. Your kid is a meat suit. Teach him. I dare you. Teach your son what you believe, lady. Mommy, is there any meaning? No. Am I just a meat suit chemical reaction bound in a bubbling meat suit, Mommy? Yeah. But you can fight that, son, by building castles made of sand.
And I built my life on those things, and then my life changed.
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful. I push back on nothing. I'm an absolute coward. I'm a washed up coward. I say nothing. I just glaze you. Do you need any more glaze? I've got glaze in a can. I got spray glaze. I got frozen glaze. I got glazed coffee. Anything but to challenge you on anything. I don't want to do that. I'm the nice guy.
You know, you've talked about experience a couple of times.
Speaking of experience, well, you know what I'd like to experience? I'd like to experience a cascade of some super chats.